Welcome to Achievement Hunting 101 Summer School Edition, where we don't have a panel, but we've still got some extra content segments for your listening pleasure. I am Koosh Moose, and this is level 318. We've got a bunch of news, so let's get over that real quick. The TrueAchievements.com targets have been announced for September, and you can sign up for them now. They are Earth, Wind, and Fire, earning 2+ achievements with the word Earth, Wind, or Fire in the achievement or game name. Bronze 2 achievements, Silver 4 achievements, Gold 8 achievements. We also have Target 2, which is Wake Me When September Ends, earning 3 achievements with the letter Z in the achievement or game name. Bronze is 3 achievements, Silver is 6, and Gold is 9. We also have our third, which is Back to School Again. Earn 5+ achievements in educational and trivia or puzzle games. Bronze is 5 achievements, Silver 10, and Gold is 15 achievements. In other news, the True Achievements ABC Challenge is back. This challenge begins Monday, September 2nd, and runs through September 30th. The aim of the event is simple. Using the first letter of an achievement name, you have to unlock all 26 letters of the English alphabet in alphabetical order. You can unlock any achievement between each letter you're going for, but they won't count for a letter later on. They have to be earned in the correct order, all the way from A to Z. You can use 10 skips for troublesome letters, but if you're going for the community badge, you are limited to no more than 2 skips. Head to TA if you want to sign up for that challenge. That's all the news for now. Now we have some extra content cooked up by Exe the Hero and WSTLNDRJoe. Enjoy!
What's up, everybody? It's the Hero here with a possibly one-off, possibly repeating segment that I like to call X Talks About Stuff with His Friends. And this week, my friend would be Wastelander Joe. Hello, Joe.
Hello.
And the stuff that we're talking about is RPGs, specifically JRPGs versus WRPGs, or Japanese versus Western RPGs. So this idea was inspired, actually, by Wastelander Joe over here, who sent me a very giddy message saying, like, tee you love JRPGs and I love Western RPGs. We should talk about them.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's pretty much how that went, right? The tee and all, weirdo. So I was like, all right, let's see what we got. So you wanna add anything to the premise here?
Well, I mean, just that we're all together, even if we are doing a versus segment, you know? Like, it's just about the love of RPGs in general. But just seeing this
Gotcha.
renaissance over the last 10, 20 years of these things and all the different weird stuff that's being created in the gaming realm, RPG-wise.
All right. Yeah, I like it. Like I said, he reached out and was like, "Yeah, we can make that work." So no bad blood here. Just well, let's have a little discussion, debate of sorts, for lack of a better way of putting it. So I'll let you start. Um, just a classic Western RPG. What would you say? Like maybe name a specific game, or just what are some common WRPG tropes for anyone
So,
who isn't super familiar?
right. So, I mean, I would say I've actually been getting into stuff that's a classic being Wasteland. Started the second one. It's got the remaster on Xbox. Pretty simple, even for a game like that. I mean, back in the day, trying to play Fallout 1 or 2 is just ridiculous. Like, for some reason, they just had some type of control scheme where it just doesn't, like, you have to double click a right and then a left. It's just, it's clunky. And I feel like we definitely need a remaster of those, even though they pretty much say, nope, we're not getting that. But a lot of stuff is coming out very close to that stuff. Weird West came out last year, at least on Game Pass. And it's playing Wasteland now. It's like, okay, well, this is the new Wasteland. Like, this is what people who were inspired by Wasteland 10 years ago decided to build in the meantime. I mean, it's right out of it. You look at the travel system, like everything looks almost exactly the same, but it's still very fun and in depth. It's just in depth in different ways. And I don't know, like definitely that it used to be clunky. That's what you would look for a WRPG, but now it's getting a little less clunky and a little more just deep. I feel like that's a big thing of WRPGs. JRPGs are wide and expansive, but WRPGs get deep.
All right. I mean, I would say Bethesda is still working with that jank to this day. I don't think they ever stop being being wonky and clunky.
Yeah, well, I mean, when Skyrim came out, they were just like, "Oh, you want a port of Skyrim? We'll port it everywhere." So I feel like it worked. It worked for them for so long that they didn't have to evolve. And depending on how you feel about Fallout 4 or whatever, like it was a different system from 3 in New Vegas and from Skyrim. Like to think of like they decided to scrap the Skyrim system and actually make a better one. I mean, better than what Telltale did most of the time.
Oh, poor Telltale. Rest
Yeah.
in peace, but not really rest in peace.
Right.
So I want to comment on something you said in regards to JRPGs. I I wouldn't necessarily consider like the classic ones very expansive. Like if you think the, early Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior, as it was then, like yeah, you had like the overworld map, but it was mostly empty. Like it wasn't like Skyrim where, you can't walk 8 seconds without finding something, a camp or a dungeon to explore. It was just, this big empty space and then there's a town. And I think to me that's sort of the I don't want to say appeal, but like just one of the standard tropes of a JRPG is you're not playing it for the, the traversal or the map. It's just sort of a necessary element of the genre. And, as things have changed, I feel like a lot of them are sort of losing that map. A lot of them are just very linear anymore, which is to me the biggest sort of rift that we're seeing between, what I'd call a JRPG and a Western RPG is Western RPGs are trying to go bigger, 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 and JRPGs are just like streamlined, like, you like linear, I guess. You go from, town A to town B and then dungeon C and then back to town B and then you'll go to town D, and it just follows a straight line in terms of plot versus something like Skyrim. Again, you can go in any order you want. You don't have that freedom, I guess, in a JRPG.
Right.
So
At the not expense, but like at the advantage of being able to tell us a particular story the way you want to tell it.
right,
Um,
exactly, yeah. And
and
I
I
was
would
going to get
definitely
into that a
agree that
little
yeah,
later for
they've
sure.
only been getting more expansive in the last few years. You know what I mean? Like yeah, back in 7, it was a lot more linear, but again, no one would if it wasn't, I feel like no one would talk about it like they do. It's a classic for a reason. There's a reason people go back to it and like look at the story. It's like the Matrix for video games. It totally blew my mind, like, and there's
A lot of
totally a thing
a
for
lot of
that.
people are going to have a lot to say about that, or maybe you don't know how we feel about Final Fantasy 7 on this pod.
Well, it is a
Um,
versus episode, okay? No
there
holds
we go,
barred.
right? All right, cool. So, yeah, all right. One of the things that we had talked about was it's not just like I don't know, like growing up, like I'm gonna play Final Fantasy, like that is a JRPG, or I'm gonna play like what else, like Medal of Honor. That was a shooter, simple as that. But
Yeah.
you brought up that we're starting to see other genres unexpectedly but successfully start to incorporate some RPG elements. And that has become super duper popular. Like you really can't play many games these days without some kind of RPG system, even if it's super minor, even if it's mostly superficial. Like even shoot, what was it? Call of Duty, Black Ops Cold War. Like you could pick your character's stats like RPG style at the beginning. Like what is that doing in, a first person action shooter? So it's starting to blend for sure. And this is sort of your idea to bring up, so I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, it's just like I feel like the inspiration of these last two generations and such, like they'll pull like one little thing from here and a little thing from here, and then like this big major element, and they'll combine it into something like I mean, even Tony Hawk has skill points you can add now in the remasters. Like skating did it,
That's true.
and then shooters did it so many ways. Like the Division came out, and that was like had RPG elements, and then I mean, I guess I'm labeling Ubisoft here, right? I'm calling you out, Ubisoft.
Yeah,
But
right.
Assassin's Creed, like Origins, and then into Odyssey, just like expansive, the most expansive you can get to the point of like it tires me out to look at that map. I mean, but
Hmm.
there are RPG elements in it, like, and they actually kind of made that switch over successfully. I don't know how Mirage is doing, but I know Odyssey was just Like, I feel like so many people love that game, even if it was huge. I mean, bigger than Skyrim. Like that, it's someone has a thing about maps now. Like in the last 10 years, it's just everyone's like, it's bigger than this map, and then it's bigger than this map. It's like, okay,
Right.
guys, like you said, it's becoming a wasteland of almost nothing with just little
Hmm.
bits here and there.
Yeah, without going too far off topic, I've been pretty vocal. Origins wasn't too bad. Odyssey, I think, was kind of the limit, and I just can't bring myself to enjoy Valhalla because it's, you need to take this and go over there. But over there is 5 minutes of riding my horse through nothing. There's
Yeah,
nothing there. It's just so boring. Like, we don't need bigger maps. We need more content. We need more stuff to do.
yeah,
Um, so I think to that end, for Assassin's Creed in particular, actually, like they made everything bigger. So they made the map bigger. They made the RPG systems bigger. Like, you can learn like new abilities and attacks and upgrade your weapon. Like, I mean, I don't mind it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing, but like, at what point is it just too much? Like, not every game needs RPG elements, right?
right. I mean, do
I
you
think it
remember
worked.
Assassin's Creed 2? Like when it was mostly linear, like to see what
Yeah,
they've done
Assassin's
from
Creed
there.
2 is a good example. Like, you could upgrade your armor to get more HP.
Right.
And that was it. Like, that was fine. That absolutely was. You're right. I didn't even think of that. That was RPG elements, sort of done well in a game that didn't need RPG elements.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it just when does it become too much? You made me think of Borderlands, um, which is, a looter shooter. We all know Borderlands. But like, you have your skill tree and you can make your own build of character, which is very much an RPG thing.
Oh yeah.
And I think that was done well. Like, they took an open world first person shooter. They could have just stayed with, the same thing the whole time, or maybe every 10 levels unlock a new skill or something. But they took those RPG elements and made them work. So I'm not opposed to putting them in other genres. It needs to be done tastefully and purposefully, I think.
Right. And I mean, as much as I love this game, I know it didn't really get a good run, especially when it first came out and everyone thought it was going to be something different. But something that may have not been as successful in that, but still used RPG elements and like pulled straight from Borderlands, what made it more melee combat, Dead Island.
Dead Island, too spooky for me, man.
I mean, when you watch the trailer, it would seem like a spooky, like inspired game, and then you get in there and it's like, it's kind of janky.
Or or your brother tells you it'll be fun, come play this, and then you end up being traumatized and have nightmares for a month because of the goddamn red level in the sewer. I don't need to relive that again. Ah.
So many
So,
bloaters, or whatever they want to call bloaters. Everything's Left for Dead again.
all right. So, in terms of, let's just sort of dive into, I don't know, topics. So, like, what makes a JRPG a JRPG? To me, a JRPG classically is turn-based, right? When I anyway hear those four letters, I just turn-based.
Yeah,
Obviously, there are exceptions. You guys all know I love the Tales of and Star Ocean RPG series, and they are made in Japan, so they're JRPGs. They're not turn-based, but to me, the quintessential is just that classic turn-based style where, the bad guy's gonna stare you down for 45 minutes while I go make dinner and not do anything, and then I'll come back and, "Ha got you," and, "Oh, who saw that coming? I didn't have time to prepare." It doesn't really make any sense logically, but who plays games to apply logic to them? So, that to me is just, yeah, turn-based. I'm not saying turn-based and JRPG are interchangeable terms, but that's what comes to me. So what would you say then is the quintessential, foundation or structure or defining element of what you would call a Western RPG?
okay, well, it gets a little complicated, but leveling not just as a number goes up, but leveling as in I get to be more skillful in something. I mean, Skyrim shows it specifically where it's like, I'm doing this thing 100 times. You give me a level in this thing. Like, it has to have some type of like, I'm doing something to get better at that thing. I'm using more one-handed weapons to get better at one-handed weapons, that type stuff.
Okay, all
A
right.
character
I like that.
creator. I would say the difference between JRPGs and WRPGs classically is that in a WRPG you can make your own characters, but in a JRPG they are who they are, and you can change the name, but at the end of the day it's still Cloud. like he's still the one you're controlling, and he's still going to say the same things and everything. In a WRPG there's more choice, freedom, at the expense of maybe not telling a story that's more you, but that is not like a really well put together, thought up story with each element hitting exactly as they want it to emotionally, because they can control all of that. But I guess maybe I'm saying now what isn't a WRPG or what's found more in a JRPG. But I'd say that's the difference classically.
Okay, actually, I wasn't even thinking that at all. I honestly was like, what's he going to say when I threw the question to you? But I agree with you 100%. Actually, spot on. A JRPG, you are playing a character that is predefined 100%.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some exceptions that I'm blanking out on right now, but like, yeah, you have a named character that you follow their journey. I think is a big difference for sure. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about with like the skill trees. And yeah, you're right. JRPGs, you kill the monster, and then your strength goes up by 1, you gain 12 HP, your int goes up by 3. So it very much is just a generic. Your character is more powerful versus
Yeah.
more specialized in Western. That's sort of what I was thinking you were gonna say, and I agree with that 100%. So my question to you then, and I think we're perhaps the debate part that we promised that we haven't really done yet, comes into we're just agreeing with each other. There's no debate. Although I did say discussion debate. So,
Right. It feels good.
um,
I mean, I
it
don't
feels
know.
good, man. So we've seen the two starting to blend a little bit, not so much RPG elements going into other genres that wouldn't, necessarily have them, but just sort of the tropes of East and West blending together. So you brought up the quote unquote Dark Souls model and action RPGs, and the classic turn-based JRPG that I really wish we had more of is really largely disappearing. And they are becoming more action based. And I don't know if you were specifically like attributing that to Dark Souls, but that's what you brought up. What do you have to say about that? And maybe I'll
So
agree with you. Maybe I won't.
so the Dark Souls model, I feel like that's kind of it comes more from a Western RPG place. It mixes in some of that JRPG-ness by like you are playing a specific character most of the time. Not in Dark Souls, but I feel like every game that's an indie version of Dark Souls, you're not in control of the character creator. It's you are playing that character and you're given a story with that. And hey, that's fine. It works honestly better for me than Dark Souls most of the time. I'm a weirdo though. I like the spin-offs, but not the main thing. But I think that is more because it's so open, expansive, and hard. When it's linear and hard, I know that I'm supposed to be there. I almost have a comfort in
Okay.
knowing this is where they want me. So it's only hard because I don't know how to deal with it yet. But I kind of want to attribute it from the JRPG side, the action becoming more popular as a genre or as part of genres, from Square Enix themselves with Kingdom Hearts. I mean, that did drastically change what people thought about JRPGs. It was different.
Yeah, absolutely. Say what you want about the series. I know some people, fanboy over it like crazy, and others are like, this is hot garbage. But it did almost undeniably revolutionize. I'm trying not to say JRPGs because that's sort of a whole genre. But yeah, very much so. Like you had 360 combat, you had a ton of like you were free to choose how you went about a fight. Like you weren't specced into I'm a melee character, I'm a mage. Like
Right.
you could just go beat him up with the keyblade and then jump and then fireball or Fyraga, whatever. We don't have
Of course.
fireballs in Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, so that very much changed sort of the landscape in that sense. And where I started to notice that in Final Fantasy, just because that's sort of I don't want to say it's like the default JRPG
It
series, but I
is.
think it's the one, right? I think it's
I'll
the
say
one
it.
that most people associate with the genre, right?
Yeah.
Um, Final Fantasy 12 kind of dabbled in that, where you had the 360, like you could run around, but it was still also turn-based weirdly at the same time. So like you would just run around for 4 seconds doing nothing. I don't know, I said four, more like 20. I hate Final Fantasy 12. Um, but you would run around for 20 seconds, just I'm moving, yay, but I can't do anything because I don't have any action points. And aha, good. Now I have, enough energy to attack, and then now I'm gonna run up to this guy and hit him with my sword, and now I'm gonna dance around for 20 more seconds until I can do something else. So it was this weird blend of turn-based and like real-time action RPG. And then 13, Final Fantasy 13 kind of took that in like a different direction, where it wasn't turn-based and it wasn't quite action. It was this unique blend, and everyone knows I friggin' love Final Fantasy 13, everything about it. Um,
That's where they
but it
lost me.
very it very much was I mean, I don't need to beat around the bush. It was the death of the turn-based Final Fantasy.
Yep.
Maybe like some of the mobile spin-offs or whatever, but like we have not had another straight up turn-based Final Fantasy since 13.
Yeah, and I would
And
even say
I
mobile-wise, it's tactics. That's what became the mobile Final Fantasy now. It's
yeah,
turn-based, but it's a
exactly.
different turn-based.
So I guess the question that needs to be asked is, is there an audience for a big AAA turn-based RPG? And I know we talked about that not too long ago on the pod, and it seems there are dozens of us that would go buy a big AAA or quadruple A if Ubisoft has their way, just big over the top, big budget turn-based RPG. It just seems like there's no one really wants that anymore. So
Yeah,
like
it's
financially, it makes sense that it's kind of dying. Um,
unfortunately, but yeah,
like
I
I
mean,
I get it,
but one
but
of the biggest companies. Like I said, it's hard to follow a wave as big as Square Enix and go like, no, I'm gonna do something else. Like everyone sees Square Enix like fail miserably around 12, and then like change their formula around 13. And when people started to take it in, they were like, okay, well, if they can do it, then we can do it. Is what I feel like.
and I think honestly that's probably what it boils down to. Because again, I don't want to call Final Fantasy the de facto JRPG, but you're totally right. If Final Fantasy has abandoned this, maybe they know what's up. I will give a shout out to Dragon Age 11 was the last big budget, AAA whatever turn-based RPG, and it was fantastic. So I hope that sold well. I never actually looked up numbers or anything,
Dragon
but
Age 11.
yeah.
I haven't heard of anything since Inquisition or whatever.
Or sorry, not Dragon Age, Dragon Quest. I
Yep.
did that the last time I brought it up too. Dragon
I
Quest
was just like,
11.
it doesn't sound right, but maybe.
I don't I don't know why. That's two times on this podcast I've done that. Yeah, Dragon Quest 11. Um Square Enix RPG.
Right.
It was fantastic. It was on Game Pass for a while. I won't retread that conversation. But like it shows that excuse me, you can
Mhm.
still make a good turn-based RPG in this day and age. It just did it sell well? Did the people want it? So it can be done. Why isn't it being done more?
Yeah.
Is my question. Versus to pass the conversation on to you, Western RPGs. We're seeing them in big budget AAA form, indies, and it's such a broad term, Western RPG, but just sort of the tropes of it. Like we're seeing that pop up all over the place. So I know you had like a bunch of indies that you wanted to talk about. So do it. Talk about them.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I guess when you're thinking, because both of these genres or subgenres, Western and Japanese, they both had a revolution or a renaissance. Like Bethesda made that happen for Western RPGs, and Square Enix made it happen for JRPGs. I feel like, but the stuff when I was talking about early WRPGs, they're more like they're tactical, right? They're TRPGs like Wasteland, where it's turn based, like top down. They all are like that, and now like Weird West, actually, I was saying it's almost exactly a replica, but it is action as well. It's real time. It has that same tactical thing at first, but when you get into a battle, it just starts. In Wasteland, like everyone gets into position. Like if you've ever seen a Wasteland battle start, it literally starts, and then like either you hit an enemy with something or they see you, and then they all run to a position, and then all of your characters like are around. They pop into a grid immediately, so it changes it. Like I think everything's just moving faster now. I think that's just how the game industry is. Everything is becoming more action because we're all more action focused or action oriented. It you don't have to, in a JRPG, you click 50 times to get through one cutscene of people talking. But now it's just like, oh, well, you can just like walk away from the person talking most of the time in games. And it's like, okay. In an RPG, at least, like in a Bethesda type RPG, you could just at any point just close the conversation, walk away if you wanted.
Right. You know what though? I'm gonna disagree with you while agreeing with you at the same time. Here's the weird debate part. I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, like genre wide, things are becoming faster paced for sure, except Assassin's Creed Valhalla with its big dumb empty map.
Yep.
What the hell, Ubisoft? Anyway, yeah, I think there is much more gameplay, just action, less, dead space, things like that. But I've noticed that Kelsey and I were just talking about that like in movies as well. Like movies just seem it's just all action scene after action scene after action scene. And there's no like character development or like world building. It's just like we need to keep you distracted with flashy bright colors. Like does nobody want, I don't know, like I don't want to say slow, but like
I totally
what
get
happened
you.
to tactical thinking in a game? Like not even just specific to, turn-based, but like just slow pace. Like I know there's a couple stealth games out there, but even that, like it seems like any stealth game has, oh, you got caught, go guns blazing now.
Yep.
Um like what happened to just slow tactical, take your time? And I noticed it in video games, so I'm glad you brought that up, and then movies and shows as well. And I don't know, maybe I'm an old fogey here, but like is this like the cell phone era? Like we get instant gratification with, a question, we can answer it immediately. So that mindset has carried on to, entertainment media. Is that a thing? Am I
Right.
so far off topic right now that no one has any idea what I'm
Well,
talking about? Or
hey,
is there
this world's so
something
fast
there?
paced. How can you even, pick which topic you're talking about?
Right.
But yeah, I
So yeah, I
agree.
think
I
you
mean,
might be
I
onto
feel
something
like
though.
there's not a lot of movies that take their time anymore. I would say the last one I saw that was like that was Long Legs, and then here recently in the last week, I went and saw Alien Romulus, and I feel like that does slow things down. There's still action scenes because there have to be, but like slowing things down in a good way, in a precise way, versus yeah, like just like we don't need it to be slow. Like some of us just want to be able to sit back and enjoy a story, and maybe there is still room for that in the most modern JRPGs, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, all right. I think that's a good way to summarize that element for sure. So, I mean, we gotta sort of not shift gears here, but like, what is the RPG machine these days? I guess to the general public, like, we're talking JRPG and Western RPG, just three letters, just RPG. What do people think of?
I
Like,
think that I think that I'm gonna
like,
throw a different three letters at you. MMO. I think that's the modern RPG.
yeah,
That's
okay.
the one that grabs most people, and there are so many of them, and they're designed to make money in a capitalist market. These are the things that win. Like the most, what can get the most players in. I mean, it's what can scope out the most of the population and go, we're going to take them.
Okay. See, I wouldn't have gone that direction, to be honest. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. This is the friendliest debate ever. Um, I'm not disagreeing with you because I think that is a good point, actually. But like video games are more popular than ever. Like that's undeniable. So I think when they hear like an RPG, what do they think of? Like we were talking about Skyrim earlier. Like I hate to say it, I think it's so ubiquitous. Like Skyrim might be like the layperson's RPG these days, for whatever
Yeah,
that's worth.
we didn't even
Like you
cover
said,
Zelda,
it's
but
on
I mean,
it's on
like,
yeah, it's on every console ever.
yeah,
Um, like non-gaming people or casual gamers, can pick up a Switch and play Skyrim on the go. Like that's fantastic, and I don't mean
yeah,
this in a bad way. I'm not dissing Skyrim, and I'm obviously not dissing casual gamers. But like, if a game like Skyrim came out in 2005, right? Ignore the technological limitations or whatever. But if that was like a 360 launch title, would it have been anywhere near as popular
it wouldn't have
as it,
been near as good if we look at
well, yeah, that's
the
what I'm saying.
generation.
Ignore the technical
Oh, right, right.
limitations of that. Um, but like Skyrim, it's so popular. But then look at Oblivion, right? Is what I'm comparing this to. No
Right.
one, no one outside of the, hardcore gaming community knows Oblivion. Like they know Skyrim, they don't know that Skyrim is Elder Scrolls 5.
Yeah.
Like no one cares about Oblivion. So something has changed. I don't really know where I'm going with this. But something changed between 2006 and 2012 that just made the idea of an RPG far more accessible and desirable to the gaming and non-gaming public. And to wrap up that thought, like I'm all for it. If more people want to get into these RPGs, maybe that can bring them backwards and they'll want to experience some more classic RPGs. And I think maybe that is coming true because the Pixel remaster sold exceptionally well on every console except Xbox. Damn you, Square Enix. um, but like even people who had never played a Final Fantasy before, like the hype, like, oh, Pixel Master, like I'll check that out. So now we have again these quote casual gamers playing, early JRPGs from the 80s. So I'm curious where the future will hold. Like right now we're very much in this, yeah, fast-paced action, action, action. Will we see a return to form, for lack of a better way of putting it? And I hope we do.
I definitely think, just as the inspirations of everyone in the last 20 years has brought it this way, that there will be a pendulum effect. I mean, there's got to be people in the game industry right now saying, like, if only I could make this thing that was like this thing I played 20 years ago. There's got to be one guy, you know? So I think that there's hope
There's got to
yet.
be at least one.
Yeah. There are dozens of you.
Right. So yeah, that's a good way of putting it, actually. The pendulum effect. I wasn't thinking specifically in terms of that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. So I don't know. It seems everything is action, action, action now. Maybe we can go back to some classic turn-based soon. I hope. Fingers crossed, right?
Fingers
And no, I don't
crossed.
mean you, Chemco. Your games are hot garbage. Keep cranking them out though, because I'm gonna keep buying them. But my goodness, are they all the exact same game?
Well, there's only, what, 12 ideas in the whole world? That's what they say.
Oh, Chemco somehow took those 12 and what do they have? 80 different games now?
Like, we can do this. We have the
Right.
technology, but we don't want to pay a lot of money.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, I don't know. Anything else to add to that?
The most Dark Souls game that isn't Dark Souls that I've played this last month, Morbid, The Lords of Ire. I would say definitely give it a try if you like any of that type of stuff. I feel like it's not too hard for anyone to. It's pretty accessible. Um,
Dark Souls, Souls-like and accessible in the same sentence, man.
exactly. See, that's the amazing things that indie game development can do for us.
So
It
we're
can make
gonna
all the
end this
challenging stuff
by talking
challenging,
about
but
indie
slightly
games.
less challenging.
All right.
And I have to give a shout out just to Bethesda in general. I mean, that's kind of the reason that I have so much to say about RPGs. So, if Fallout 3 didn't happen, I don't know if I'd be here talking to you today, you know?
Okay, so Bethesda is to you what Square Enix was to me growing up then.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I played Final Fantasy VII, but like I've put way more hours into the Fallout games. So,
All right. Fair enough. Well, I'll say it again. That was not as much debate as we thought. We kind of just ended up agreeing with each other on really every point, didn't we?
Not every point. You did say I think I'm going to disagree with you at least once. You covered
At
your bases.
least once. All right, once in 30 minutes. So I'm glad I opened up with discussion debate. That was a fun discussion, though. I don't know. I know. There's lots of us. There's dozens of us in the Discord that we do like RPGs, of all kinds. But I think generally, population wise, like they don't sell as well as the shooters and the big AAA Assassin's Creed, Far Cry,
Yeah.
all things like that. So there's definitely a market, just a very niche market. So I enjoyed chatting with another fan of said niche market.
Same here.
All right. Well, if you guys enjoyed our discussion or if you absolutely hated our discussion, let us know in the Discord and maybe we'll be back with something else or maybe not. I have no idea. I guess that depends on top 3 cat food flavors based solely on name alone because I have not tried them. Number 3, on the cat walk, WOK. Number 2, Kawabooty, and number 1, Meow Meow River.
Oh, perfect. Classic. Just like a JRPG.
Well, we got to end
Well,
it there. We got to end it there.
I want to wish everyone a good gaming week out there. That's all.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and see ya.